Education, where leaders from the northeastern part of the country are demanding to be given the right to hire untrained teachers to cover the deficit caused by the departure of non-local teachers from the region. Speaking in Nairobi today, they say they will not agree to any postponement on the 2015 national exams of the Form 4s and Class 8s in the region. They claim it has been 8 months without action or concern from the government, and that the future of more than 400,000 children is at risk.
People who come from this region are no longer useful to us. We shall continue suffering. They are going to take our slot, and they are going to be employed. When they go there, they will use the state of security in the region as a reason, and they will continue going.
We are now approaching the KTC next time. Who will carry out the principles? This is now again another problem.
President Uhuru and Deputy President Ruto have betrayed us, we people of Northeastern Province, because they failed to secure our security and at the same time failed to secure our right to education. Give our children the education they deserve. And CS for Education must resign. He must resign. He has abducted his moral, he has no moral authority to be the CS education in this country.
And let's cross borders a bit. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed a committee to advise him on how best to tackle corruption and reform the legal system. The 7-member Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption is mostly made up of academics.
The committee's brief is to advise the present administration on the prosecution of the war against corruption and the implementation of required reforms in Nigeria's criminal justice system. President Muhammadu Buhari, who took office on May 29th after being elected on promises to fight endemic corruption, has said he believes officials have stolen around $150 billion from the public over the past decade. The 7-member Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption mostly comprises of academics. In a meeting with US President Barack Obama last month, President Buhari appealed for help in finding and returning government money he said had been stolen and was being held in foreign bank accounts. The committee's brief is to advise the
President Robert Mugabe has criticized Zimbabweans for the death of Cecil the lion, telling them they failed to protect him. Cecil was killed by an American hunter who is yet to be charged in Zimbabwe.
Speaking to thousands who had gathered to mark the country's Heroes' Day, a national holiday honoring fighters who died in the War of Independence, Zimbabwean President Mugabe took aim at his fellow countrymen, accusing them of failing to protect the lion.
Even Cecil the lion is yours. He is dead, but you have lost to protect and you failed to protect him. There are vandals who come from all over coast. Some may be just ordinary visitors, but others would want to vandalize, irregularly and illegally acquire part of those resources.
This is President Mugabe's first public comments about the lion, whose death sparked international condemnation. Prosecutors have said the lion was shot with an arrow and died from a bullet wound inflicted 40 hours later after it had suffered major blood loss. Walter Palmer, a Minnesota dentist, has admitted to killing the lion, but has said through a publicist that he thought the hunt was legal. The killing of Cecil sparked international outrage among animal lovers. Michelle Ngele, KTN News.
A U.S. company is looking to bioengineer rhinoceros horns in an effort to flood a lucrative black market and save the endangered species from extinction. Will this address poaching? Take a look.
Matthew Marcus of biotech company Ambient is holding up a rhinoceros horn worth thousands of dollars on the black market because a poacher had to risk his life to kill an endangered species to obtain it. At least that is what Marcus would have you believe. This horn wasn't cut off a rhino in the African savannah, it was bioengineered in a lab in San Francisco. Rhino horns are comprised primarily of keratin, a family of proteins that make up hair and nails. It is highly sought after in parts of Asia where it is used as an ingredient in conventional medicine. Marcus and his partner George Bonacci obtained a real rhino horn and are using the latest techniques in biotechnology to replicate it so perfectly that it passes as the real thing.
There's going to be some differences still. I mean, we're not bioidentical yet, so that's the goal. But one of the interim goals is to make it more costly to test the object and the object's worth. And I think we're pretty much getting to that territory now.
If they perfect the science, the idea is to sell the lab-grown horns. Marcus sees current day poachers as his biggest customers.
We can't really control what happens to our horn once it leaves our distribution points, so there's potential that people will take our horn and relabel it as wild horn.
The big winners here are the rhinos. Now that the technology to replicate their horns exists, the hope is that the incentive to hunt and kill them ends.
There are rangers, there are patrols, there's sometimes shoot-to-kill policies in place and things like that. So, so we want to make it such that people may not want to basically go out there and do this particular work anymore because it won't have this very lucrative payday for them.
In future, Marcus and Bonacci have plans to bioengineer other rare products like tiger bones and ivory with the hope of saving one endangered species at a time. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Let's come back to the country now. And Wiper Democratic Movement is currently holding its National Executive Council meeting where they are discussing a raft of issues concerning the party. Sources at the closed-door meeting indicates that the top of the discussion will be how to discipline errant members who have been labelled as rebels. Machako Governor Alfred Mutua, who was elected on the party's ticket, has publicly associated with the ruling coalition and is seen as the main rebel within Wiper. This is seen as concurrent measure within the parties in the CORD coalition, as ODM is holding a similar meeting at the Orange House.
The Machakos governor's meeting Monday evening endorsing his development style of leadership has sent reverberations within the Wiper party. Top party organ is currently meeting to discuss the conduct of the governor. The governor projected himself as development conscious, a brand of politics rubber-stamped by a section of Wiper leaders who accompanied Mutua in his public rally Monday evening.
Itaita viongozi wote tukae chini na tukubaliane ya kwamba lazima tufikirie tunaenda wapi kama watu Ukambani. Na pia nitazunguka, wameniambia nizunguke, nitaenda Kitui, nitaenda Makueni, nitazunguka Ukambani wote kama kiongozi Mkamba. Nimeitwa na viongozi wengine nikiongelesha watu tujipange tujue tunaenda wapi.
Mutua is viewed a Wiper rebel governor who does not subscribe to the party line. In numerous occasions, the governor has skipped Wiper events, some attended by top CORD luminaries in his own Ukambani backyard.
We are not going to get where we are supposed to be by just talking about it. Wananchi wamechoka kuongeleshwa, wanataka vitendo. Na siasa imebadilika. Yoyote asiyefanya siasa ya vitendo akae nyumbani, aachie wengine wafanye kazi kwa niaba ya wananchi. Sio lazima tukae na maskini.
But the Monday meeting is perceived a statement of intent for Mutua, a political figure positioning himself to the position of the Kamba leader.
As the debate over the long-term limits in Africa continues, a report by lawmakers in Rwanda now says Paul Kagame's quest for a third term in office has widespread support. The results of the nationwide tour reveal that only many people support his bid for a third term. Kagame, 57, has already served for two 7-year terms. In July this year, Parliament amended the law to allow him to run for a third term.
The writing may already have been on the wall when more than 3.7 million Rwandans signed their names on a petition seeking to have Paul Kagame run again in 2017 for another 7-year term. And now a report by lawmakers in the country suggests that only 10 people have opposed that bid around the country. The move comes amid a raging debate in the region about presidential term limits in East Africa and Africa in general.
I'm a very popular person. I'm doing the right thing, and I have no apologies to make to Obama or anybody else. And when you see what's happening in Uganda here, every 5 years of those years you are talking about, there is always, Uganda is at a higher level. As I speak today, the Uganda government is able to finance by itself almost 93% of the budget. That was not the case at the beginning.
Well, Your Excellency, I don't think it's a question of defending. I think, as you said, it's a question of choice because, as you have correctly said, the people of Kenya, through choice of the constitution that they voted in, stated that they were desirous to have term limits. But like I said before in Parliament, the most important thing here is the democratic will of the people. That is the most important aspect. So if the people themselves decide that they are not desirous of having term limits, you can also not force the issue on term limits to somebody who has said no. If the people are desirous, you must also, like we do in Kenya, abide and say the people of Kenya have constitutionally stated that they want term limits. So we must abide by the will of the people because the Constitution is the embodiment of the will of the people.
Healthcare services in the entire Nakuru County have been paralyzed as public health workers' strike enters day 2 on claims that they have not been given their promotions even after negotiating with the county. Patients at the Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital, which is one of the hospitals affected in the county, remained stranded as no services were offered. The health workers have vowed not to reverse their decision until promotions and salaries are rendered. Kamche Menza gives us an update on the current situation.
Hospital, and this is the casualty department. Behind me are some of the patients who have come here today to get treatment. On this side is the cashier area, and it's closed. Evidence enough that there are no operations going on here today. Outside the door are some of the more patients who are still waiting to get treatment. But the doctors here are some of the doctors who have been affected by the strike in the county. They say enough is enough, and what they want from the county is their promotions.
Tulikuwa tutoke either leo tomorrow, lakini by yesterday when we came here tukaambiwa na madaktari kila mtu aende mahali anajua na mgonjwa wake. By this morning nimepitia, nimeambiwa na crew nursing wamepata nafasi. That's why tunamtoa tunampeleka na crew nursing home.
We have gone on strike so that we can get our promotions.
There is absolutely no reason why any member of our union should go back to work without our arrears, our promotions given in full. That is the bare minimum we want from this county government.
Healthcare workers have been demoralized. Today, the morale of healthcare workers is low. Corruption is the highest in counties now as we speak. And all this, if not addressed with urgency it requires, then we risk increasing the mortality rates in this country.
Let me say, because of procedures in payment of salaries, maybe something was removed, but not all of them. It was not removed across the board. When we noticed some people were missed out, we told them we are going to reinstate, and we have reinstated. Maybe a few have not.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has officially opened the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region Conference. The week-long event will see over 400 participants from 18 countries in Africa participate. The president in his speech urged Africa leaders to embrace tolerance in order to foster peace, growth and development. The president urged participants to formulate modern methods of coping with the 21st century problems for better Africa. Reporter Timothy Otieno joins us live from Safari Park for the latest updates.
Yes, indeed, a good afternoon, Ian. We are at the Safari Park Hotel, where President Uhuru Kenyatta just shortly gave his opening remarks for the... This is the 46th CPA conference, better known as the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region Conference. And basically what his message was to the 400-strong delegation was tolerance, tolerance, tolerance. He was speaking a message of tolerance, especially for the parliamentarians to rather listen to and give dialogue a chance, especially when it comes to issues on the opposition and the balancing between opposition and the national government and policy formulation for the respective governments. And I am joined here with one of the delegates and participants of this conference. He is the Mwingi Central Member of Parliament, Honorable Joe. Honorable Joe, good afternoon. Good afternoon. So basically, what do we expect? What do you expect to discuss in this conference over the next couple of days?
Well, I would say that the table is full. We'll discuss a lot of things, but more importantly, it is important to share the legislative Commonwealth countries. And we are also expecting to, like what President said, to share views on how to accommodate one another. This is also very important. If you reckon that most of the countries are our former colonies and they are trying to impose some of legislative rules which they don't participate in their countries, and this is a good forum whereby we can hear our views and say, no, if this is not done in your country, what do you want it to be done here? You remember when we were changing our constitution, we borrowed a lot from Western, and most of them, actually most of parts in our constitution, they don't practice, but they boast some of those clauses into our constitution, and threat that if you don't do this, we will not fund you. So these are the issues we want to discuss, and as you know that the parliament is a very important institution in any country because it is where laws are made. And like President has said, that it is also important also to tolerate one another. You know, we are in a multi-party democracy era, whereby we have members from different political parties. It is always important to listen what other person has to offer, not necessarily that this person belongs to your party, so that you can agree with them, and vice versa, and so many other things we need to discuss. And once we do this, then we transform and we transfer what we are getting from this conference to our colleagues and to our other members.
Yeah, indeed. Another important issue that was discussed at the conference, like a model in the African context on how women representation can be enhanced. What's your thought on this, and how should the delegates discuss this ahead? Of course, in Kenya we have the 2/3 gender rule debate, and it's just 2 weeks away from the deadline.
Yeah, this one is a complicated affair. Yes, in Kenya we have 2/3 gender deadline, actually, which is becoming a little bit too difficult to achieve because this is an elective position, as you know. I think I don't want to agree with what a judge said, that Parliament should come up with a solution, because honestly the Constitution, when you read all the chapters in the Constitution, one chapter is contradicting the other, because once it says that there should be this number of members of Parliament who are women elected, then you go back to your constituent and wonder who will be elected as a woman from which constituency. It becomes a little bit difficult. However, we can come up with a solution and find out how to get these numbers. And as you know, I've been championing to have at least to reduce the number of members of parliament, to reduce the number of counties. This is what I've been trying to push through because of the lot of wage bill, which actually we are experiencing today. And if we can sit down and come up with a good formula, which will give everyone a chance to hear their views, I'm sure we can come up with something which will be which will be good for our country, because at the end of the day, we don't have to copy and paste what other people are doing. We need to do what is good for our country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Yes, so that was the Honorable Member for Mwingi Central. Of course, Ian, the discussions continue, matters on youth empowerment. There is the Commonwealth Youth Parliament that started in 2012. They are going to be discussing issues on youth empowerment and leadership roles, as well as terrorism. Remember, Africa has been experiencing a lot of terror threats and terror attacks, from Boko Haram in West Africa to the Al-Shabaab in East Africa. So a lot on their plate of the delegates here, as the conference will continue up to the 15th of April. Ian.
Much Timothy Otieno for that particular update. Let's move on now. And the former ruling party KANU is distancing itself from the proposal of merging all Jubilee-affiliated parties. Leaders in that party are saying that they will not dissolve their party, saying it will be suppressing democracy.
This thing being formed, called Jubilee Alliance Party, is a new party. New, that is going to join in the league of TNA, in the league of URP, KANU, UDF, and many others, almost 10 parties that form the coalition of Jubilee. In the event that President Uhuru Kenyatta forms another one called JAP, he will have to have a working arrangement with KANU for him to continue getting our votes, as it were. And that one, we are sure, if he decides to stand in TNA or JAP, he will come to us. But never, 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 ever will there be a time when he will dictate to us, kill your KANU and come. If he goes that direction, he will actually be saying he's not going to be the president of the Republic of Kenya, because he deletes his own votes from these other partners. But if URP winds up and TNA winds up to join JAP, who told you everybody is going to be hard like goats? Who will walk there?
The national women's volleyball team is promising better results in this year's World Cup that is scheduled to be held in Japan later this month. With all Africa Games almost fast approaching, the junior side will be on course to represent the country in the African showpiece. Malkia Strikers depart the country on Thursday for Japan.
The national women's volleyball team, the Malkia Strikers, has been the best volleyball team in Africa this year. The team convincingly won the African title in Nairobi, edging out fierce rivals Algeria to book a World Cup slot. Having failed to impress in the previous World Cup appearances, this year the team believes they have what it takes to compete among the best in the world, especially after gaining promotion to the Grand Prix Group 2.
Before this time, I think we have been participating in the World Cup merely as participants, but I think this time around we are going there as competitors, and no one is taking us lightly. We are confident enough that we are going to pull very good results, and if the dogs sleep, then we are going to pass them.
And we remain confident that our team will compete credibly and surpass the performance that we have previously recorded.
With the senior team taking part in the World Cup and the All-Africa Games happening soon after, the junior team will be representing Kenya at the All-Africa Games that will take place in Congo-Brazzaville.
But the B, I'm promising that B is equally as good as A. And when we go there, please, I promise that if we don't get the gold, silver or bronze will be ours.
Equally confident and hopeful that Team B will be able to get the podium.
Malkia Strikers will depart the country on Thursday morning for 1 week training in Japan before the games commence. The commission has also organized a fundraiser for the team on the same day.